Chapter 8, Just Physical. The days that follow are exercises in calculated avoidance. The campus, once a place of infinite possibilities, now transforms into an emotional minefield. Every corner might reveal Pedro. Every bench under a tree carries memories. The warmth of his hand on my thigh, the weight of his body against mine, the pressure of his lips exploring my skin. My body seems to keep a complete archive of sensations that manifest when I pass through places where we were together. I reorganize my usual paths to minimize the chances of running into him, but the echoes of our encounters follow me wherever I go. The bench by the lake in the park, the student union room, even the library, all these places are now marked by his absence, like photographs where someone has been cut out, leaving only an empty outline. In the few times we inevitably cross paths, in the cafeteria line, in the library, in the corridor between departments, we exchange only distant nods or tense smiles that don't reach our eyes. A painful formality has replaced the intimacy we built. Still, I notice how his gaze lingers on me a second longer than necessary, as if his eyes also keep memories. How I looked when he touched me, how my face transformed in moments of pleasure. The distance between us already seems continental, even before my departure. "You look like a ghost," Fair observes, as she watches me absent-mindedly stirring a cup of tea that grows cold without being drunk. "It's not the end of the world, you know. Studying abroad was always your plan. You should be planning which cafes you'll frequent, not brooding over a relationship that lasted, what? A few months." "It's just a few months, but a few months that changed everything," I automatically correct, hating how defensive it sounds. It's not about the amount of time. It's the nights spent in his arms, learning the secret language that each body speaks when it finds its match. Fair rolls her eyes, the old ceiling fan gently blowing her hair. "My point remains, you always knew this would happen. It was part of the plan, remember? Graduation, master's, brilliant academic career. Pedro was just..." She gestures vaguely, searching for the right word. "An anomaly," I complete, remembering how I defined him to myself. "Exactly, a statistically insignificant deviation." Fair knows me too well. Back on track, that's all. I nod, but her words, although technically correct, seem terribly cold. Pedro wasn't just a deviation. He was a revelation. The living proof that my carefully constructed models of how life should be had fundamental flaws. It was he who showed me that my body could be an instrument of pleasure much more complex than I imagined. I had only felt this type of connection once in my life, but it's a secret so guarded that sometimes I lock it away from myself. "Remember, I've told you many times that my dream was to find your male version, Fair. I think Pedro was what I always asked for," I comment softly. "Sometimes what we ask for isn't what we need," she says, her voice softer now. Before I can fully process what she means, Fair gets up, announcing she's going to take a shower. I'm left alone in the kitchen, the fan spinning lazily, the tea now completely cold in front of me. The days become a week, then two. I bury myself in preparations for York, visa forms, intensive English classes, preliminary readings, necessary shopping. I keep myself busy from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., leaving time only for strictly necessary sleep. It's a strategy that worked in the past after relationship breakups, the Sofia Martins methodology for healing broken hearts. But none of this seems to work this time. Even during sleep, I find no peace. Vivid dreams transport me to his arms, to the warmth of his skin, to the sensation of being filled by him. I wake up breathless in the middle of the night, my body covered by a fine layer of sweat, pulsing with unsatisfied desire. Sometimes my fingers seek relief on their own, but the sensations I can produce are only shadows of what I experienced with him. A few weeks after our conversation by the lake, on a particularly lonely Friday night, I'm sitting on my bed surrounded by literary theory books when my phone vibrates. Normally, I would ignore it. It's probably my mother checking how I am, or fair letting me know she'll arrive late from the party she went to. But something makes me pick up the device. And there it is, a name that makes my heart skip a beat, as it used to happen when his lips found that sensitive spot just below my ear. Pedro. I hesitate, my finger hovering over the notification. It's the first direct communication since the lake. Weeks of silence, and now this. Finally, I open the message. Hi, I'm trying to hold back, but I miss you, both emotionally and physically. Since our emotional connection is shaken, can we at least satisfy our physical longing? I read the message 3 times, my heart accelerating, a familiar heat beginning to spread through my belly. Raw honesty has always been Pedro's trademark. No games, no manipulation, just the truth, no matter how vulnerable it leaves him. I make the mistake of looking at the photograph on my bedside table. The two of us by the lake, his arm around my shoulders, my smile more genuine than any I've seen in previous photos. I feel a wave of longing so intense that it becomes physical, a hunger that manifests not just in the mind, but in the most intimate places of my body. My fingers begin typing before my brain can intervene. Fair is at a party and should return only in the early morning. You can come. I'm waiting for you. I send the message and immediately throw the phone on the bed as if it burns. What am I doing? It's the most irrational, the most counterproductive thing. I just marked a final period in our story, and now I'm opening ellipses. But my body seems to have a will of its own, a wisdom that surpasses all my rational elaborations. I don't have time to recriminate myself. Pedro's response is almost instantaneous. I'll be there in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I look in the mirror and see the disaster I've become. Hair tied in a careless bun, reading glasses, oversized university sweatshirt, no makeup. 3 weeks of avoiding Pedro meant 3 weeks of neglecting my appearance. For a moment, I consider taking a shower, putting on makeup, preparing myself properly. But there's something almost liberating in the idea of meeting him like this, raw, without artifice. If we're going to break barriers, let it be all of them. I want him to see me exactly as I am when I'm not trying to impress anyone. Even so, I brush my teeth, put on a little perfume on pulse points, those same places where his hands and lips used to linger. I let my hair down, letting it fall in natural waves over my shoulders the way he always liked. Small concessions to vanity. 19 minutes later, Pedro has always been extremely punctual. The doorbell rings. I breathe deeply, trying to calm my agitated heart and open the door. There he is, looking as devastated as I feel. Messy hair, slight dark circles, stubble, that stubble that used to leave my skin sensitive and marked after our kissing sessions. I've never seen him so down. I've never found him so attractive. Hi, he says, his voice hoarse as if he hasn't used it in days. Hi, I respond, stepping aside to let him in. He passes by me, his familiar cologne, citrus, musky, provoking a wave of memories that makes me dizzy. That smell that used to be impregnated in my sheets, on my skin, even in my dreams. I close the door and turn to face him, suddenly very aware of the electricity in the air, of the palpable tension between us, that same tension that has always preceded our most intense moments. We stand there, about a meter apart, like strangers trying to remember that we've already known every centimeter of each other, that we've already explored every curve, every valley, every ridge. We both start simultaneously, then stop. A hesitant smile appears at the corner of his lips, those lips that know all the secrets of my body. You first, he says. I open my mouth but realize I don't know what to say. What is there to say? Our situation hasn't changed. York still awaits me. The breakup is still inevitable. Words are inadequate for the moment. It's our bodies that need to communicate. Instead of speaking, I take a step forward. Another. until I'm close enough to feel the heat of his body, to see his accelerated pulse in his neck, to notice how his eyes dilate as he observes me. "We don't need to talk," I finally say, my voice almost a whisper. The tension between us breaks. In one moment we're separated, in the next, we're in each other's arms, lips meeting with an urgency born of weeks of absence. His kiss has a taste of desperation, of time running out, of contained hunger. My hands find his hair, longer now, tangling in the dark strands. I feel his hands on my waist, pulling me against him as if he wanted to eliminate any space between our bodies. We walk blindly, without breaking the kiss, until my back meets the hallway wall. His hands slide under my sweatshirt, fingers tracing patterns on the skin of my waist, circles, spirals, silent promises of pleasure. Each touch awakening dormant sensations, each caress reviving memories I tried to suppress. "I missed you," he murmurs against my lips, and the sincerity in his voice makes my heart tighten. "Me too," I admit, finally abandoning pretenses. "Every day, every night." His lips trace a path down my neck, finding that sensitive spot just below the ear that he knows makes me shiver. His hands explore my body with a mixture of reverence and urgency that is exclusively his, both scientist and lover, mapping reactions, cataloging each sigh. My own hands aren't idle. They find their way under his t-shirt, feeling the warm skin, the tense muscles under my fingers. His body is a familiar territory and yet always surprising. I pull the fabric up, eager to eliminate barriers between us. He moves away just enough to help me, then does the same with my sweatshirt. For a moment, we just observe each other in the hallway's dim light, the living room light casting soft shadows on our partially exposed bodies. I see in his eyes the same conflict I feel, the pain of what's about to end mixed with the desire of the present moment. "Bedroom," I murmur, unable to form complete sentences. He nods, following me down the hall to my personal sanctuary. The room is a mess of books and partially folded clothes, the physical signs of my internal chaos from the last few weeks. But there's no time for embarrassment. Pedro closes the door behind us, then turns his attention completely to me. There's something different in his eyes now, an intensity, an almost fierce determination that wasn't there before. It's the look of someone who knows that time is finite, that each moment must be savored. He approaches, slow, deliberate steps. When he reaches me, there isn't the usual gentleness in his touch. His hands find my hips with firmness, guiding me backward until I meet the resistance of my desk, the same desk where so many times I sat to study while he distracted me with kisses on my neck. "Is this what you want?" he asks, his voice low, vibrating in that frequency that has always affected me. "Just flesh." The question catches me by surprise. It's not accusatory, but there's a vulnerability behind the intensity that disarms me. His eyes, always so expressive, reveal layers of emotion that his words try to hide. "No," I admit, unable to lie with his eyes fixed on mine. "I want everything, but you're leaving," he completes. There's no bitterness in his voice, just resignation. "I know." Before I can respond, his lips find mine again, silencing unnecessary explanations. This kiss is different, less desperate, more deliberate. A slow exploration, as if he were memorizing the taste, the texture, the essence of me. His hands explore my body with growing urgency, finding all the points that make me arch against him, points he has meticulously mapped over our months together. My own hands aren't idle, undoing buttons, zippers, until we're free from any barrier between us, skin against skin, heat against heat. His hands touch me in places that make me arch my back, seeking more contact, more pressure, more of him. "Wait," he whispers against my lips, reaching for the discarded pants beside the bed. I hear the unmistakable sound of a package being opened. Then, he's above me again, our gazes connected, a silent question in his eyes. Yes, I answer the unasked question. And then we're united, in the most intimate way possible. His weight on me is like an anchor, keeping me connected to the present when each sensation threatens to disperse me. We begin to move together, first in a slow and deliberate rhythm, then with growing urgency. My fingers trace maps on his back, feeling the muscles contract and relax under the skin. I lose track of time as we lose ourselves in each other. At some point, our positions reverse. Now I'm on top of him, taking control, dictating the rhythm. His eyes observe me with fascination and desire as I move. His hands find my hips, guiding me, supporting me. Sophia, he moans, and there's something in the way he says my name. A reverence, a plea that brings me closer and closer to the edge. Pleasure grows in waves, each time more intense, until it finally breaks over me. I arch my back, his name escaping from my lips. I feel his own climax follow mine, his body tense beneath mine, his fingers pressing into my skin. Afterward, we fall side by side on the bed, breathless, satisfied. He gets up briefly to deal with the physical evidence of our encounter, then returns to pull me against his chest. We stay like this, intertwined, while our breathing gradually returns to normal. Well, he says finally, a smile in his voice. Well, I repeat, tracing lazy circles on his chest. I didn't expect my week to start this way, he comments. I laugh softly. Neither did I. A comfortable silence settles between us. The old air conditioner in the room hums in the background, creating a bubble of coolness that contrasts with the heat of our bodies. Sophia, he murmurs, his voice filled with a tenderness that makes my heart ache. This doesn't make things easier. I know, I respond, tracing abstract patterns on his chest with my fingertips. It probably makes everything more difficult. He sighs, his fingers playing distractedly with my hair, twirling strands between his fingers as he used to do on the lazy mornings we shared. I don't regret it, not for a second. I raise my head to meet his eyes. Neither do I. A comfortable silence establishes itself again. I hear the ticking of the clock on the wall, counting seconds I don't want to lose. I feel the heat of his body against mine, memorizing each sensation. The exact texture of his skin, the particular smell his body exudes after love, the pattern of his breathing when he's relaxed. How much time do we have? He eventually asks, his voice laden with multiple meanings. Fair returns only after 3, probably. I check the clock. We still have hours. That's not what I asked. I sigh understanding. Not enough. He nods, processing the information. Can I ask you a question? Of course. Was this a goodbye or a restart? The question hangs between us, laden with implications. I consider lying, saying what I know he wants to hear. I don't know, I finally admit. Maybe a bit of both. He nods again, accepting my indecision without judgment. We can decide later, he says, pulling me closer. Now I just want to feel you. His lips find mine in a kiss that promises the night is far from over. And as we lose ourselves in each other again, a part of me wonders if any academic dream, any city of lights, any planned future could really compensate for the loss of this connection I found without looking. The answer, I realize with growing clarity, is not as simple as I would like it to be.